The recording has started. Beth, can you hear me?
I just unmuted myself here.
Okay, take it away.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. We are so excited to be here with you and join us tonight. Tonight our goal is to equip and empower and entertain and educate you on the basics of building your business. Our goal of this school is to teach you how to have a strong and profitable business. And I would like to welcome the new members who have come in lately, who may be some are on the call tonight and some will be hearing the replay. So Liz Dickerson, Shamala Naidu, David Peters, Lane Lee Bowers, Sherry Calise, Jerry Hatton, Linda Jo Westrick, David Roeder, and Terry C. Hagel. I hope I pronounced your names right, everybody. So before we get started, we invite you to grab a pen and paper so we can let you know what's coming up this week. And we have our noon lunch, our weekday MLM lunchtime leadership shows, Monday through Friday, noon Eastern time, coming up, that except for this Monday and Tuesday. So tomorrow and Tuesday, Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, we are actually moving that to the Saturday and Sunday. So because Jeff will be out of range traveling. So, but the other days, of course, is we cover one of the 21 irrefutable laws of leadership by John Maxwell. So we'd love to have you on there. It's becoming a very, very popular show, and people are getting a lot out of it in their personal lives and in their in business lives, whether entrepreneur or network marketing. Tuesday, Facebook Live, 3 p.m. Eastern Time, is another topic, another training that Jeff and I do. It's free and open to everybody, so you can bring people to that one or the lunchtime one. The Tuesday one is about one of the aspects of network marketing that we cover. Wednesday night is our famous MLM Leadership University, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, and we are covering one book a month of John Maxwell's. Very important leadership. Today I posted a post in our group. Rob Sperry, he's giving his testimony about leadership. He says that he was 1.5 years into network marketing and doing very well, but driving himself crazy because he was doing everything himself. He was working 80 hours a week, numerous meetings, calls, three-way calls, but he was doing everything himself. So he learned the power of leadership. He learned the secret of leadership, or else he'd probably be dead by now. But in order to grow a business, you can't do it all yourself. You have to learn to be a leader. And that's what we cover on our Wednesday night MLM Leadership University classes. You can contact me for more information, but I also put the link in the Facebook group so that you can learn more about it. And there's a nice video that Jeff did about it too. So leadership is essential to develop if you want to grow that big residual income and get yourself to your dreams. Let's see, we have actually a special for Leadership University combined with the Quick Start Basics class. Normally they would be, the Leadership University itself is $97 all by itself. However, we are including for members in the school that you can be in both this class tonight, the Quick Start Basics class, which is $25 a month, along with the Wednesday night class. And so we are making it at this time available for our members to have both at $97 a month. However, we do have a special coming up. You can find, well, I'll say it's in effect right now. It's at that link on the Facebook MLM Millionaire Club Facebook group. There's a post in there and a link to the special. So the special running through December 31st is only $68 for both classes, and that fixes your rate for good for both classes. So you can have the access to this. And just message me, private message me, Bess McCarty, if you have any questions about it. Mark your calendars now for January 25th to 27th in Indianapolis is a regional event that Jeff and Brandy put on, which is the Launch Free Enterprise Summit. This is about financial language and mindset. Very, very important. this only comes around once a year. So let's jump on. And now I'll be there, and the last regional that they put on was very, very popular. Everybody had a breakthrough with that. So we'd love to see you there. If you're anywhere in the vicinity or near Indiana, this is in Indianapolis in January 25th to 27th. So let's see. For some of you who may be new and just getting acquainted with Jeff and me, I'm going to let you know just a little bit who we are. Jeff has personally recruited over 500 people frontline in network marketing, built 2 teams of over 5,000 people. His teams have produced over $10 million in sales, and more that I could say about him. So he is a very good choice, a person to listen to, because he has always sought the most direct and the best and the easiest and the fastest way in network marketing. And that is how I came to ask him to be on board with the school that I have been running for 10 years in network marketing, the MLM Millionaire Club. Now, I was a full-time network marketer for years. Many years ago, helped me raise my son as a single mom. When my company went out of business, I became a body-mind therapist for my own personal growth and help other people. And now I bring this back to network marketers, teaching that mindset and personal growth, which is what tonight is about. We're going to cover the third core of the 10 core commitments tonight, covering personal growth. So I bring the mindset to network marketers, but I also help teach the skills, help them to improve their skills, get all their 7 skills up to a 10. So that's what we cover. I met Jeff 4 years ago on Eric Worre's page, GoPro. Eric's a friend. Met Jeff there on the pages. We stayed in touch for 4 years, but it was only this year that I really learned the depth of what he has been teaching, and what I call the best. It's the best way. Of all the methods that I've used, the 10 years that I've been studying the top 10 network marketers, when I learned Jeff's method, I knew that I had to bring this to my students because I'm committed to bring the best. So I asked him to help with the school, and we end up being partners in it and teaching this together. This generic training, the school is generic, of course, and this training, the 10 core commitments, are compatible with your company. It's compatible with everything. It's generic. It's for all levels of people, starting, long time, focusing on customers, recruits, or leadership, people who are moving or who are stuck, because the 10 core commitments always help you to deepen your foundation and to be able to teach this to your team. So we hope that you stay with us for good, learning these foundations and passing them on to your people. You cannot get enough of the foundations, and people just you'll want to grab your pen and paper. So much is coming your way when we get started. The class will go for 90 minutes, then we will turn off the recording and have questions and answers, a place where you can ask questions, get coached, where you can also share your takeaways. So you might make a note about both of those things, any questions that come up or any takeaways that you have to share at the end. The 10 core commitments, I'm going to read them real quick. Number 1, get started right. Number 2, be here a year from now. That's about commitment. Number 3, personal development, which is tonight. Number 4, market daily. Number 5, present daily. Number 6, attend a weekly presentation. Number 7, attend a weekly core training, which is what these Sunday night classes are, core training. Number 8, attend a monthly regional. Number 9, attend all company conventions. And number 10, have a monthly action plan. So you can see that includes all the 7 skills that Eric Worre teaches in his book, GoPro, which I've been using in the school for many years. And it covers also the mindset, especially tonight. Keep track of the ones that you attend, because we have a certification, 4 levels of it. When you have completed all 10 of the 10 core, that means watch it or attend or catch the replay. When you have done all 10, private message me and we will get you a certificate for that level. There are 4 levels, so some people have already completed their first 10 and they're working on their next 10. So there are 4 levels altogether, and that representing a year's worth of study. and we'll be glad to get your certification for you. Those who have your certification, we'd love if you print it out, take a picture of it, and we'd love to send that in, and I will brag on you on my Facebook page because we want to acknowledge people for that. So we have people jumping ranks in here. We have people doing things they have never done before when they use what we teach. And I will now turn it over to Jeff, who is usually on video with me here, but tonight he is simply on audio from Wisconsin, where he and Brandy are for the holidays. So I'll turn it over to you now, Jeff.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, fantastic. So, guys, what we want to do is run through. We've got a lot of background noise. I don't know if that's me. Is that coming in clear now? So what we want to do is really run through these 10 really quick. And typically this call is split up in basically 45 minutes. But what we're going to do is, since it's already 9:17, at least by Eastern Standard Time, I'm actually calling out of Jump River, Wisconsin, which is basically as far north as Minneapolis, Minnesota, just about 2.5 hours east into Wisconsin. Up here visiting family for the holidays, Christmas, and we've already had one Christmas. Tomorrow will be a second Christmas, then we'll have a third Christmas, and then on the 30th we'll have a fourth Christmas, and we also have a fifth Christmas to attend with my dad. So I don't know if you have a blended family or, have gone through the divorce. We don't really have a family tree. We have a family forest. So we go see everybody. That's just what we got to do. So a lot of people said, during the holidays, there's a lot of stress that can, take part. We just kind of take it easy. And the reason we take it easy is we kind of got control of things about direction, what we're doing, where we're going. And what I'd like to do is I'm going to share this with you, just kind of my thoughts, what I've learned along the way, what people have taught me, and just to know just so you guys know where I got this information from. I did not make it up. I did not create 99.9% of it. Now, there were some things that I changed a word or two, but everything that I'm going to teach you has not only worked in the field, worked in multiple companies, worked with both products, worked with services, worked with multiple different comp plans, worked with different people, worked in different languages. It's worked, I guess is the main thing. And what I was looking for is not only something that worked, but something that would duplicate. And I've seen this duplicate over and over again. So the first gentleman that I actually learned some of this information from was a guy named Dexter. He's currently, and still to date, the #1 network marketing earner of all time. If you look it up online, you can look it up, you can Google, who is the highest earner of all time. Not who's made the most in 1 month or who made the fastest, because he was not the fastest by any means, but his total income from network marketing. Now, this is not his outside ventures. This is just commissions paid by his company to him and his wife. Over 50 years of commissions exceeds $450 million. In fact, based on numbers that I understand, it's probably closing in on 500. $500 million. Now, the interesting thing about that is there are companies in our industry that have been around for years that haven't totally made the same amount of money that this gentleman has earned in just commissions. This was one of the first guys I got to train with. Now, his organization exceeded 1 million people. In fact, he had a single leg of his business that had 1.4 million people in it worldwide. That's a pretty strong organization. Now, what does it take to build that? It takes years, dedication. Even with all the modern technology we have, there really hasn't been anybody that's come close to what he's created in a lifetime, just because that's all he did. And that's if John Maxwell says, if that's all you do, you usually get good at it. He's like, I've written a lot of books. He's like, some of my books are really good. He goes, they should be good. That's all I've done for the last, 50 years. So if you're not good at doing this after 50 years, you better hang it up. So let's get into the training itself. And I'll kind of reveal some of these other people who, gave me some of this information. So what Dexter said is, getting started right, you just want to make it as simple as possible. And the simplest thing that I found is being able to start somebody with a list of 10 people, and let's start thinking of it this way. Rather than thinking of starting everyone else, think about starting yourself this way. Even if you didn't get started this way, what if you scratch the slate clean, regardless of how much success you had, regardless of who's on your team, regardless of what you've done? What if you scratch the slate clean and you can start this right away. Some people are like, I'm going to put it off to the beginning of the year. I mean, whenever. It doesn't matter when, but let's say you pick a starting date and you say, look, I'm going to make a list of 10 people, and I'm actually going to figure out what I need to convey to them. Now, my training is basically geared towards education. We're going to educate people. So this is the goal. We're going to educate people for these 3 reasons. These are the 3 results I want to get out of educating people on what I do. Number 1, I want them to know what I do so they can refer me. That's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is educating people on what I do so they can refer me. That's the ultimate goal. The second byproduct of that ultimate goal is I'll get a customer. And obviously customers are good. There's only really 2 things we do to make money inside the business. To make money, number 1 is we create customers, and number 2 is we recruit people who create customers. That's all we do. So in these 3 objectives that I have for educating somebody on what I do, number 1 is the referral. I want to educate them so they can refer. Number 2 is to create a customer. And number 3 is to create a recruit. That would be in level of hierarchy. I would absolutely positively rather have a recruit than I would anything, somebody who comes onto my team. Secondary, I would love to have a customer, because obviously we make money off of a customer. And then third, my ultimate goal is I just want them to know what I do. Now, here's the issue with this. If I'm going to go out and educate a group of people about what I do, and I just send them a link, or I just tell them the name of the company, or I just post a bunch of stuff to them, are they educated on what I do to be able to refer me? And the answer is no in about 99.9% of the times. So although I love a lot of the information that's been created in our industry, a lot of times I think we have it backwards. And we have it backwards because we're trying to teach people something that's so simple and so easy that, yes, it doesn't take hardly any time. Yes, it doesn't really take any brain power, any skill. But what I found is where your strength is also where your weakness is. Your strength may be you could send a link to anybody. Your weakness is if you look at statistically, is about 87% of people never look at that link. And if 87% of people never look at that link and never watch that video and basically never get an education on what it is we do, then how in the world can they refer? They can't. How in the world can they become a customer? They can't. How in the world can they become a recruit? They can't. So therefore, what I looked at doing, and I learned this from the #1 guy earner of all time, is he said, I want you to learn your basic presentation of our company. That was the first thing he said. He's like, I want you to learn it. He goes, I don't want you to learn it to, sell it to people and, turn their arm and sleep on their porch and take their dog and not give it back until they get in. He goes, I just want you to know our presentation so that way you have the ability to convey 5 things. You want to be able to convey who the company is. Who is the company? Who started it? How long has it been around? What has it done? Why was it started? That would be another good reason. Why was it started? That's just half a dozen things. 3 to 6 things on the company. The next thing you want to convey to people is the need in the marketplace. What is the need? If you're in a weight loss company, obviously the need is a lot of people are overweight, obese, and have all kinds of health issues. That's not, rocket science. You don't need a PhD to understand that. 99.9% of the need in the marketplace is something that's pretty matter of fact for most people. Do you, a friend of mine just pitched me another business, and he's like, do you want to save money on your cell phone? I'm like, yes. He goes, the need we cover in the marketplace is you get to save money on your cell phone. I was like, cool. How does that work? And then I basically learned about how it worked and what you get. And we talked about it. And he gave me a little bit about the company, a little bit about the need in the marketplace. The third thing is your product. What does your product do? How long has it been around? Who made it? Why did they make it? How much is it? That's pretty simple. compare it against what else is out there. That's the third thing. The fourth thing that you're going to go over is the basics of the compensation. Now, most people in network marketing have 4 types of compensation. You're not here to explain the comp plan. Let me get this very clear. You're not here to explain the comp plan because in network marketing, there's a lot of lingo. When I'm educating somebody about what I do so I can get a referral or I can get a customer or I can get a recruit, I'm not breaking the entire comp plan down. That's not what I'm doing. I'm basically saying, look, there's a couple different ways to do this. With our company, you can just retail, you can just buy it. And if you're a rep in our company, you make money doing that. The second thing is typically there's a preferred customer program or a customer program of some kind, glorified Sam's Club member in some cases, but most of the time it's called a preferred customer. And a preferred customer not only gets a discount, but in some cases can refer other customers and get more discounts or free products. That's usually in the market. The third is what I would call the Sam's Club business member. The Sam's Club business member is somebody who actually paid the money to become a rep, but they're not looking to build a business. They're not looking to take over the world. They're not looking to sign up customers. They got in to get a discount on the product. That's it. They just want a discount. There are millions of Avon reps who just got in to get a discount. There are millions of Mary Kay reps who just got in for a discount. There are a million of Arbonne reps. There's millions of Amway reps. There's millions of Melaleuca and Shackley, and I can name off about 500 companies in the industry. And this is probably an education to most people. A third. Write that down. A third of their reps got in the business for the discount. That's the only reason they got in. They didn't get in to sign other people up. They didn't get in to buy a mansion. They didn't get in to make $1 million. They didn't get in for residual income. They didn't get in to get a pen or a plaque or walk across stage or get recognition or get on a phone call. They got in to save money. In fact, if you look at the DSA, which is the direct sales organization, DSA.org, they actually did a study on why people sign up, and they took, thousands of companies and thousands of people, and they started asking them, why did you get in? And here's what people picked. A third of the people, in fact, it was just a little bit over a third, like 34% got in for the discount. The next third got in for the discount, but they also, and this kind of made sense to me, they also just wanted a backup plan, just in case. When we talk about Plan B inside of our opportunity meetings, a lot of times that's what it attracts people to the industry. They're like, you know what, I really need something else because, gosh, if something did happen to me, if you ask 100 people, hey, if something happens to your job, if something happens to your career, do you have a backup plan? Most people are like, no. Would you like one? Isn't that a good question? Would you like to have one, or would you like to look at one? Well, yeah, that makes sense. I'm not saying it's something you want to do right now, but wouldn't you like to have a backup plan? That one came in at about 30%. And the last one, and guys, I'm not going to have the percentages exact because I'm doing this from memory. I don't actually physically have the notes in front of me, but it was like the mid-20s, like 20, I guess if you subtracted it all from 100, 34. I think the next one was 31, and then 26, 27. It was like point something. Ended up, the last third wanted to make money. So I just call it a third, a third, a third. A third of the people get in for the discount. A third of people get in simply because they want a backup plan, and the last third wants to get in for the money. So if you look at that, 2/3 of the industry, so out of the 100 million people who are involved in network marketing, let's just use this number, 33%, 33 million, have no interest in building. They just wanted a discount. Not that they won't build, not that they can't build, not that people haven't popped out of that scenario to build, but we're just saying that's not why they got in the very first day. The second group wanted to save money and have a backup plan, and the third wanted to do something. So there's approximately 33 million people whose objective when they got in was to make money. Now, what I've learned also is 70% of the people who get in completely never get another phone call from corporate, never get another phone call from upline. In fact, in a lot of cases, their upline has quit. Has that ever happened to you? Has your upline ever quit? Has your upline ever left? Has your upline ever gone somewhere else? Do you not have a direct connection with anybody in your company at all? That happens. In fact, that happens to a lot of people. A lot of people are struggling in the industry and lost. So that was one of the main reasons after years of doing this, and I kept having people come up to me and asking me, hey, can you help me? You've recruited 500 people. Can you help me? You've built these giant teams. Can you help me? You're doing all this volume. How are you doing it? And not just doing it once. I was able to do it over and over and over again. And here's the crazy thing. Every time I've done it, it's gotten easier. Why? Because I've understood a little bit more of these principles, and I'm able to teach them and explain them to other people that I'm working with, and I've become better at it. And a lot of times I found other people who become better at it. Therefore, it was a little bit easier to do. But it's the same work every time. What I did 20 years ago with the tweaking of some words is exactly what I'm doing now. And it not only works, but it works faster, and it duplicates faster than anything I've seen that's really in the industry, with one exception. And I'm going to give you what the exception is, because most people won't even say this. I've known people in the industry that have come from internet marketing, and because they've spent 10 years and 150, 250, I have a friend that spent somewhere in the neighborhood of like $7.5 million in advertising in the last decade. $7.5 million in advertising. He's been able to get in companies because he understands the ins and outs of target marketing and how and where and Google AdWords and, multiple landing pages and all this stuff that takes 10 years to understand. He told me, he's like, I'll be real honest, he's like, I spent $250,000 before I understood really how internet marketing worked. He goes, now I had some money coming in. He goes, but it wasn't even enough to cover what I spent in advertising, what I was borrowing, because he took out an equity line off of his house to figure it out. Now, he's one of the best in the industry. You probably don't know his name. You probably never even heard of him. But he has positions inside of multiple companies at the same time. And be able to earn money. And if you think that sounds like a great idea, I'll tell you he's been in the industry for about 40 years. He struggled to death for 10 years to figure it out, made some money in a couple different industries, and he took all the information to the outside world, meaning outside of direct sales, made millions in outside businesses, came back into the industry, started the lead company, and then from there built. Now, the reason I tell you this is because you have to beware of the shiny ball syndrome. The shiny ball syndrome is somebody will come to you and say, I found a much simpler, easier, amazing internet system that's $10, $20, $50, $100, $3,000. I mean, I've seen them all priced. The latest one I've seen, now this is going to blow you away. Write this number down. The latest one I've seen is $21,000 up front. That's the first buy-in. Do you think a new network marketer who's just getting started should buy a $21,000 course right off the bat to teach you how to sell $21,000 courses? Probably not. I would say absolutely not. I would say 99.9% not. There may be one human in the next 10 years that's born that has the capability and understanding and background that would be perfect for. But then think about it. How are you going to duplicate that? You might get your money back, luckily, maybe. But typically what they're doing is just selling nothing into the air. So I tell you all that because there's so much confusion and garbage out there to confuse you, take you off course of what the objective is. The objective is to teach a lot of people what we do about our company, so that way, if they have somebody they run into who needs us, they can refer us. If they ever need to buy our product, they can buy our product. And if they ever decide to, make a decision to, do something else, they now know what we do so they can get in business with us. I'm going to teach you not just what works. I want to teach you the simplest, most effective thing to do. So we're getting back to these 5 things you need to cover in a presentation. Number 1, the company. Number 2, the need in the marketplace. Number 3, the product. Number 4, the compensation. So in the compensation, we talked about 3 things so far. The first one was retail. You can make the money, the difference between retail and wholesale. Then there's the preferred customer where you get a discount, and you can probably get more discount if you get other customers. And then the third is the glorified Sam's Club member. Why they get in, the 3 reasons why people get in, A third of people get in just for the discount. A third of people get in for a backup plan, and a third of people get in to make money. The last thing is the business builder. That's the fourth way to make money. Now, I'm not here to tell you how all that works. I just want to let you know that there are people in our company who have been earning $500. Yeah, or I'm sorry, I usually say $1,000. There's people in our company that have earned $1,000 this year. There's people in this company who have earned $1,000 this month. There's people in the company who have earned $1,000 this week. And we have a few smart alecks who earn over $1,000 a day. Now, I'm not here to break all that down, but if you want information on it, we have things that cover exactly how to do that. The last thing I want to talk about is the team and the timing, or the timing and the team. It just depends on which order your company lays it out. The timing right now. So let me give you the network marketing from a 25-year perspective. And this is researching the industry, because I've heard people, I've actually trained with people who have been actually physically building in this business since the 60s, the mid-60s. Here's kind of how it works. In a great economy, it is physically harder to recruit people in a great economy. The businesses actually slow down in a great economy. Isn't that weird? Here's why it happens. Because in a great economy worldwide, and depending on which country you're in, right? Let's use the United States. In a great economy, when you can make money in the stock market, and you can make money in real estate, and you can make money starting a traditional business, and the bank's lending policies are really open, you can make money pretty easily. So most people gravitate towards traditional. If the economy turns bad, like what happened in the late 80s, the Dow, changed 500 points in one day. The Dow total at that time was like 2,500. So 500 points disappeared. So a fifth of the liquid money disappeared in one day. That was called Black Tuesday for those of you who are trading specialists. It disappeared. And that was 1987. In the late 80s, it fell apart, and the network marketing actually took off like a rocket from about 87 to mid-90s. In mid-90s, the dot-com boom happened, and all of a sudden, there were people making millions and billions inside of dot-com. Most of you on this line, I'm sure, are old enough to remember that. I have to kind of remember who I'm talking to sometimes, because every once in a while I'll be talking to a group of friends, and the other day I was talking to somebody who was like 21, and they were like, oh, 1987, that was cool. That was like 10 years before, 14 years before I was born. And I wanted to reach across the table and slap him, but then I remembered when I got into business, I was 17, and I remember kind of, I said the same thing, and people wanted to probably hit me. So don't hit anybody. I found that when you slap somebody, or you make fun of them, or you do something negative towards them, they don't want to get in business with you. That's almost a fact every time, so don't do that. Sometimes I'll say stuff just to be funny. And it's what I'm thinking in my head, but I really wouldn't do it, and I really wouldn't say it. It's just part of my sarcasm because my personality is like that. So moving on. It happened again 10 years later when the dot-com boom crashed, right? So all of a sudden, 92, 93, 94, people started buying real estate. Real estate was hot. It was awesome. It was just something to get into. The dot-com thing was booming. Silicon Valley was being built. There were millionaires popping out every day. Everybody was opening up a dot-com. Everybody was buying a website. Everybody was getting money from all over the world. And then 1999 happened, Y2K. I don't know if you remember the virus, and they forgot to set the computers, and we thought the end of the world was coming, and all of a sudden the economy crashed again, and all those dot-com companies disappeared in 2000, 2001, 2002. It just was not really pretty. Then the economy starts taking off again. It starts doing well for a couple years. Real estate refinances, real estate investing, and then 2006, 2007. So if you track back even farther, like 78, 79, the oil embargo, the economy crashed. Really good late 70s, 87 happened again. 98, 99 happened again. 2007, 8, 9, the economy basically crashes again, and network marketing takes off. So what I'm trying to say is It's going to happen again big time, and we're basically sitting on the far end of the curve. It's due. The market's supposed to adjust just like it's doing. Everything's supposed to be, the big wave is crashing again and gonna start riding again. So it's about to be probably the best thing we've ever seen, because two things are hitting simultaneously. That wave's hitting at the same time social media is hitting the mainstream public. We now have the ability to talk to everybody, so it's really good timing. So timing overall, that's timing in the world. I'm talking about timing in your business. And what I'm doing is I'm just trying to give you the mindset of what's going on out there, what's happened, to kind of look at things properly and say, I might have the next 2 to 5 years to be able to build something that, timing-wise, not everybody has that timing that perfect, like that we're going to have in the next 2 to 5 years. So it's going to be really good. Inside of a presentation, would you say all that? No. I'm giving you like a fire hose version of information on top of the presentation to be able to explain the simple 5 things. I can actually explain the company, the need in the marketplace, the product, the compensation, and basically the timing and these great people we work with in 10 minutes or under. And I can do it in every single company that I've ever looked at, and I can do it in every single company that I've been in. And then if I handed that sheet of here's 3 to 5 things to say about the company, here's 3 to 5 things to say about the need in the marketplace, and here's 3 to 5 in the product, and here's 3 to 5 in the compensation, and here's 3 to 5 in the timing. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have you repeat exactly what we said at the beginning. Thank you so much. Now you know exactly who we are, what we do, and how it works. And the reason I shared it with you, again, was so if you ran into anyone, you could refer them to me. It's a 10-minute phone call conversation. How do you get people on the phone? That's what people, how do you get people on the phone? Watch this. I use high tech to go high touch. High tech is social media. High tech is a text message. High tech is a Facebook message. High tech is LinkedIn. High tech is Twitter. High tech is however you find them digitally, you find them. High touch is one-on-one conversation over the phone. Now, here's what's interesting. People are like, oh, you can't sell over the phone. I'm not trying to sell. I'm trying to educate. There's a difference. I'm not trying to close them. I'm not trying to recruit them. I'm not trying to build my organization. I'm just trying to give them the information on what I do. And the reason being is because people who are successful inside of every industry in the world have 3 things in common. Number 1, they're clear. And what I mean by they're clear is they clearly are able to explain what they do. Aren't they? Like if you go to buy a car and you walked into the car sales lot at Lexus and you said, man, this new LS, LS, which one is it? The 470, I think now. LS 470, LS 460, because I know there's like a limited edition, and then there's the F series, if you know the car that I'm talking about. Amazing sedan. Like it's one of the top 4-door sedans in the world. It's about $105,000, loaded, maybe 115 with all the bells and whistles and shiny rims and, the guy that comes in the back and tells you which way to turn. That car is amazing. Could you imagine walking into Lexus, into their $21 million lobby and, with their $17 million worth of cars in their lobby and their crystal chandelier, blah, blah, blah. And you walk up to the front and say, yeah, I'm really interested in this car. And the person says, well, I'll be real honest, I've worked here for 6 months and they tell us we're not allowed to talk to you. I can just send you I'll text you over a quick video. It's about 3 minutes. And you can watch it, and if you really, really, really like this car, then I'll get you on the phone with somebody, and we'll set up a time where you can come back in and drive it. Now, I've literally had network marketers tell me, they're like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life. Why would you do that? I said, well, understand that's what network marketing is teaching people to do every single day. I said, now, let's change the scenario. Let's say you're not looking for a car. Let's say you're looking for a house, because I'm a real estate agent as well. I've got a couple different traditional businesses. Let's look at the same thing. I get into real estate. I'm new. I'm brand new. And my friend calls me and says, hey, Jeff, I know you passed your real estate test and your exam and all that. You're a realtor, right? Yeah, I'm a realtor. in the state of Indiana. So let's play the game the way that it's licensed. I'm in Indiana. Okay. This is Indiana. Well, I'm looking at a property in Indiana. Could you help me show it? And I said, you know what? I'll be real honest, I'm new. And the company that I work for said that, they really don't want us telling you exactly what's going on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to have you watch this video of the company that I work with, and it's going to explain everything. I mean, it explains it way better than I can. I don't know nothing, Why don't you just watch that? And if you're really, really super interested in the house, then we can get together and I'll show it to you. Again, people are like, I would never use that realtor. So you can use the same scenario in insurance. You can use the same scenario inside of all these different things. And here's what I've learned. The reason why they're pitching us videos and the reason why they're pitching us, the companies are pitching us these different things is I went back and I learned this from the best people in the industry. And the biggest people in the industry still will pick up the phone and tell people. Here's a little bit about the company. Here's a little bit, exactly the same thing. This is what people do that have been in the industry for a long time. I know a lot of them. I know a lot of the $1 million earners. Now, a $1 million earner has the ability, because they have leverage, because they've had success in the industry, to send somebody who maybe, had contacted them where they already have leverage and influence, send them something and watch and be able to sponsor. But what I found is the opposite doesn't usually happen. So this is just my philosophy of how we've done things and why it's worked. So getting started right, I want to take 10 people and I want to show them those 5 things over the phone. Then when they have questions, and they say, but I am interested in the product. I know you said you just want a referral, but I'm interested in buying this. Okay. Do you need more information about the product or the compensation plan or both? Well, just the product. Okay, let me get you the video on that. Now do you see how the video plays in? Because now they know now they know why, and they have the interest in it. They're asking for the information rather than you pushing it upon them. The second is you do the same scenario and they're like, but I'm interested in the compensation. Like, are you getting paid to do this? Yeah, I got in to get paid to do this. Well, how exactly does the money work? Well, great. I can either get you on the phone or get you to a video that will explain that in detail. So the first thing that all successful people do is they're clear. The second thing is they're concise. They're concise. Now, concise means is you're able to get that information to them in 10 minutes or less. They don't have to do any research. They don't answer questions they don't know. They're not going to go get a PhD. They're not going back to school about the product. They're just going to get the basics. And they're like, I'm going to just give you the basic overview so you know what's going on so you can refer me. And then the third, out of being clear and being concise, the third is being confident. People do business with people who are clear, people who are concise, and people who are confident. That's what people get in with. Now, we say in the business, people they know, people they like, and people they trust. And I'll just give you a scenario. Let's say you've known a friend for years. You like this friend. You actually trust this friend when it comes to most things. But all of a sudden this friend says, hey, I'll be honest, I really don't know exactly what this business is or how it works. In fact, I can't tell you anything about it. I just want to get you this link. And you watch the link and you're like, okay. Now, it's not that people don't get in off of it. If you do enough of it, in fact, it works best when somebody of high influence sends it to somebody of low influence. And I finally figured out why the companies are selling us on this idea. It's because the people who did all the work for years were tired of going out and doing the work. They already had the organizations built. And they were like, you know what, we need something simpler that we can tell everybody to do so we can sit at home and act like we're doing it and keep collecting the checks. Now, that might seem harsh and wrong, but when you get to know enough people in the industry, you really find out the psychology behind how it works. Think about it. If your leader sat at home and said, look, I'll be real honest, I got to this level because I sat down and I presented 10,000 times. That's really how I got here. I honestly would rather have them say that. But what we've done is you still need to do that presentation and then get people this follow-up video. But instead, they're able to sit home and go, I sent out my 2 to 3 videos today. Did you do yours? And then they're able to go about their business and collect their checks. That's what I found was going on. And when I found that out, I'm like, I am going to teach people how people got to that level, not what they're doing now. So that's getting started right. Share it with 10 people as fast as possible. If you present to 10 people as fast as possible, learn that presentation, and teach that presentation, if I had it written down, I could hand it to somebody else who could duplicate it instantly. People say, well, what do I do? I said, you see this presentation I just went through? I'm like, yeah, could you read it to 10 people? And then if they have interest, get them on the phone with me. They're like, yeah, that's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. They're like, but I could do it. I was like, that's all I do. They're like, that's how you've made all the money in the industry? I'm like, yeah. The difference is that I've presented to more people than most people. That's why it's worked so well. And people say, but I can send a text message to 10 people right away. Fantastic. If that was true and it's working, then why are you on this call? And somebody asked me that, because I was at this training. And this is when I started to argue this stuff in my head. And I was like, yeah, he's right. It doesn't kind of make sense. And the guy asked me, he's like, well, if that was working so great, why are you at this extra training? He's like, you're here because you know something. I mean, it sounds like the Matrix, right? You know something that's been bothering you. It's been in the back of your head. You just don't know the right questions to ask to figure it out. And when I figured it out, I said, I'm going to teach this. And I'm going to teach people how to really do it. And watch this. Everyone I've taught it to, everyone that's mastered these 5 skills that we're going to talk about, which is how to contact people, to be able to educate them, how to invite them to a presentation where they'll actually listen and watch the whole thing, how to present in 10 minutes, how to properly follow up, and then how to get people to events. Everyone I've taught this stuff to has succeeded. Everyone. Like, I don't have an exception to the rule. I don't have anything where it's like, well, some will, some won't, some do, some don't. Everybody who's done it has succeeded, and everybody who tries the other games, meaning buying, well, I bought 10,000 CDs and I mailed them to everybody in this zip code. Great, what's your team look like? Well, I don't really have one. And I love to argue this with people who have been in the industry for a decade, and they have 3 people on their team. They're like, man, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm just going to keep it up. I'm like, okay, cool. So here's the rest of it in 2 minutes. The next part, okay, I'm getting weird text messages. Can you tell anyone? Okay. So next, it says, be here a year from now. Obviously, you not only want to be here a year from now, but you want to be doing some of the stuff we're talking about. The objective is to master all 10 of these. If you could master all 10 of these and then teach these 10 things, this is how to build an organization. Now, I've watched people who have started doing this, and they built an organization in the United States, and then it jumped overseas, and then it jumped into another country, and then it jumped into another country, and then it jumped into another country, and they have nucleuses of people in different countries and different languages in different time zones. I mean, you talk about a cool business. You talk about a cool income. Imagine an income that comes in here, comes in another language, comes in another monetary system, and all of that volume adds up, and you get this big check once a day, once a week, once a month, however your company pays. So be here a year from now. Number 2, personal development. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Number 4, market daily. You want to market what you do every day. So what I did is I just started presenting to one person, at least one person, every single day. It takes 10 minutes. Here's who we are. Here's what we do. Here's how it works. This is what I'm looking for. Could you do me a huge, huge favor? I asked that to a couple friends. I said, hey, what are you guys doing now? Oh, well, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I said, can you do me a huge favor? I just learned about something I'm going to work on outside of everything else I'm doing because I'm crazy. And I just wanted to share it with you so if you run into anybody, you could refer them to me. I can get referrals from where you're at. And every single person that I sent that to said, sure, when? When can we talk? So multiple people, you at least want to talk to one a day. So market daily. The marketing is, hey, we need to talk. I need a favor. I'm going to share with you what I do. So if you run into the right person, you can refer them to me. I'd love for the referral. Could you help me out? And most people are like, yeah, sure. 5, I present every day. So market daily turns into presenting every day, which turns into, number 6 is attend a weekly open house. I'm not going to go into all the details of that because we have a whole class on that coming up. 7 is attend a core training, which we're on right now. If you attend one of these every single week and you do it for 52 weeks, we're going to go over it and we're going to go over it again. I learned from Tony Robbins, repetition is the mother of all skill. Repetition. Repetition, again and again and again and again. Bruce Lee said, I do not fear a man who knows 10,000 kicks, but I fear a man who's practiced one kick 10,000 times. You do not want to get kicked by that guy. Like, the guy that says, oh man, I've tried out 10,000 kicks. He's the one on the internet that we're all laughing at when he tries to kick a bottle off of somebody's head and kicks him in the head instead. So that's 7 is attend a weekly training. Number 8 is attend a monthly regional. Obviously, we're going to show up once a month. And we show up once a month in a bigger setting with more people, and we hear about stories of success. Instead of just learning the basics, now we're going to hear what I call the art of the business. The skill part of the business they're going to go over, but the real thing is the art of the business, the timing, the struggle, how to overcome, how to figure it out. And sometimes it's just for the, and I hate to say it, it's for the motivation. People are like, oh, I hate motivation. Motivation wears off. Well, so does a shower, but you're still going to take one in the next week, hopefully. If you show up to my meeting, it's required. Take a shower within this week, preferably 1 to 2 days. That's 8. Number 9, attend all conventions. And I'm just going to leave it at that, attend all conventions, because every company is different and has a different schedule. And then number 10 is every month you want to create a map, a massive action plan. A massive action plan or a master action plan of what to do. Now, what am I going to do this next month? The great thing to start looking at is what I'm going to, yes, what are you going to do in 2019? But the main thing is what are you going to do January 1st, January 2nd, January 3rd, January 4th? That's what's important. John Maxwell said a long time ago, he's like, it's not what you plan to do in a year that makes you successful, what you plan to do every day. Build it into your daily mastery is really what you need to work on. And that's what we're going to talk about in the second half. So that's what I have for my part. I'm going to turn this back over to Bess to get her thoughts and insights on this. And then we're just going to have a couple minutes on personal development and professional development. Bess?
Okay, doke. I just unmuted myself here. Thank you, Jeff. The stuff that you guys just heard, I haven't heard taught anywhere else just like this. It's a truth and it's a viewpoint that I'm happy to bring to our students. You can find this. This is a lot of information, but it's written down for you in our book called Always Get a Yes that you have upon registering, upon sign up. You got an email with that book link in it. It's called Always Get a Yes. And for quick reference, just look on pages 5 to 12 because it's all written out there how to do this. This is the most direct path that I know to your success. It's the most concise, simple, duplicatable, works with all 4 personalities, never gets a no, gets permission before it's an indirect people respond. They always say yes or they schedule an appointment. They don't say no anyway because they want to help you. They're curious. It's not about them. It's sort of like going in the back door. And with that script, the invite script, hey, would you do me a favor? I want to let you know what I do in case you run across the right person, you can refer them to me. We've had people use that with people that have said no forever to network marketing. But yes, they'll listen to what you're doing in case they can refer somebody, and they find out they're interested themselves, and they have a referral. So it's worked with people who have said no to network marketing. It's worked with people who've said no to you and your products in your company. And the way you preface that is to say, I know this is not for you, but would you learn more about what I do in case you run across the right person? You can refer them to me. How long is this going to take? About 5 or 10 minutes. Sure, I'll do that for you. So it's not about them anymore. They're not defending. And suddenly they learned, that network marketing label is taken off of it now. And they learn about a business that really can't be beat in this economy. Like Jeff was saying, it's the best solution for people in this economy ever. And it's a golden age for network marketing. That's why it's growing so hugely right now, not just because of social media, but because when times get tough, network marketing thrives because people need that answer. How else are they going to have a better life? How else are they going to pay off their student loans, find a way to be home with their kids, have a better retirement, fire a bad boss? They can't get a second and third job, work themselves to death. They just can't do that. It's not going to be franchises, which are way too expensive for 99% of people. It's not going to be real estate or stock market in this economy. So this is the chance that most people have for a better life. So pages 5 to 12, you guys, the most direct, concise, complete, easy method that I know of to get your business off the ground fast and then teach this to your team. And that's why we have people in here who've been jumping ranks. And one member last month, she's not on tonight. I think she's wrapped up with some other business, family business and all. But she, last month, jumped 2 ranks, quadrupled her sales, and qualified for new car bonus. All the while, when her family was having, they lost a member of their family and she was having health issues. All the while doing that. She said, because of what you're teaching and because of your confidence in me, I did this. She goes, I still can't believe I did it. But we said, okay, don't stop there. What's your goal for the next month? And we have people that have done a lot with their business for the first time, doing a lot. A senior lady who's 84 and sponsored her first distributor since being with us on the class, and on and on. So we get real jazzed every time these successes are flooding in, because we know that it's working and that we are on the right track to get these out to people. So your best resources is going to be your Always Get a Yes book, that's pages 5 to 12, and also the YouTube replays of these. So you have all of that. I want to underscore what Jeff was saying about the bright, shiny balls or the bright, shiny objects, not getting distracted by them. I have a good friend who's an internet marketer and a network marketer, both. If you're looking at those 2 paths or think you could combine them, David Frey, he has made millions of dollars in each, and he spoke on Eric Worre's GoPro stage a few years back, and he said to the network marketers, he said, don't get distracted with internet marketing, ClickFunnels and all this stuff. He said, don't get distracted by that. He said, the dollar you make in network marketing and the dollar that you make in internet marketing, which is learning all the funnels and all that, he said it's not the same dollar. It's a lot harder, internet marketing, because he's done both, and he's an expert at both of them. And I can say, too, internet marketing has taken me about 10 years to figure out. So please don't get distracted by that, and come back to the basics of how the people originally made the money and are still making it, aside from, I used to teach, don't do the talking, let tools do the talking. And many top network marketing teachers teach this too. Don't talk unless you're doing the presentation, unless you're telling your story. Otherwise, don't talk. Now I don't teach that. From learning what Jeff is teaching, what research has shown, that the better way is to give your 10-minute presentation, which you get from the company's information. You write it up, and then you can give it to your front line, and they can give it to theirs. So that's why it's so duplicatable, you guys. It's just a subtle little switches to make it, to go from struggle to flying. It's just these subtle, beautiful things that Jeff has put together here. So don't get distracted. Just go back to talking to people again and again, and teach your people to do that, and then it multiplies. Be successful. Show your people you're doing it. Do at least 2 to 5 presentations a day, not invitations, but presentations, and then show your people, that you're doing it and how to do it. And it's so simple, isn't it? But that really works. So I will share more about personal development a little bit, Jeff. I thought that I would cover the top 10 mental blocks to success and how to overcome each of these after you completed your part.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, guys, so let's get into personal development and professional development. I want to break it down into 2 categories. And the reason I want to break it into 2 categories is personal development is just what it says, personal. It's what you personally need to overcome, figure out, or learn about to be successful. And professional development is really just learning the skills necessary to make this happen. So here's what I've learned. Inside of both of these, there is both a science and an art. Now, what's cool about the science is the science we can teach to anybody. The science is basically the right words and the right order, right? I mean, that's as easy as it comes. Here's the right things to say in the right order. If you say the right things and you get the order right, that's most of success, like part of it. The second part is the art of success. The art of success is more of the timing and has a lot to do with your confidence and how you go about doing that, where you go about doing that. I'll give you a for instance. If I want to talk to a successful person who lives in a successful area and I invite them to a not-so-good area in a not-so-good setting, and I try to say the right things to them, but I show up wrong. I show up dressed wrong. I show up, smelling wrong. Let's just be honest. There's a lot of different things here. I show up late. All of those things have to do with my personal development. The professional side is I said all the right things. So then I'm mad that this didn't work because I said the right things, but the setting was wrong. The environment was wrong. I didn't read into what I was doing. And that's what takes a little bit more time. And here's why it takes a little bit more time. Because I didn't grow up in a business setting, and I'm guessing you didn't either. And the reason why is because 95% of us are basically trained employees. We were trained from birth to be an employee. And if you've ever heard this before, this blew me away the very first time I had somebody really break this down to me. And I have a much more detailed version of it that I'm going to go over at Free Enterprise. But basically, the system was set up by a few individuals. And what I mean by a few individuals, I'm talking about a few individuals, a handful of the wealthiest people behind the scenes. And behind the scenes, these are people you probably don't really hear the names of very often. And the funny thing is all of their families are still in power and still in control of almost everything that's happening right now. And it was set up hundreds of years ago. Set up in Europe, and it came to the United States. I know we have people from all over the world, so I'm going to discuss the United States here because I know that's a big bulk of people. But it's true I found in Australia, and when I've researched it in different countries, it's usually true. In fact, this one family out of Europe has basically controlled and financed about every major war in the last 350 years. So that's just what I've learned. Now, where does it go from there? That group of people basically established how the money system and everything is going to transact and work. In fact, one of our founding fathers inside the United States said, if you want to rob a person, get a gun, but if you want to rob a country, own a bank. And what he was trying to warn us of was basically centralized banking. And where does centralized banking fit into all this? Well, the system was set up at the top to basically create a system to create money and income. That's why it was set up. There's two major things that basically go together, money and power. And where you'll find money, you'll usually find power. And where you find power or the takeover of power, it's usually because of money. Those are the two driving forces. So those kind of come down to the second level, which is, how businesses run. And the businesses, how they're running at the turn of the century is what we're talking about, basically had a bunch of consultants come in and they said, look, and they were talking to the wealthiest people in the world, just a handful. And they said, I know you got the banking system going and I know your companies are going, but I just want to let you know something. Based on the research we've done, in the next 20 to 30 years, every single person who works for you is either going to be dead or retired. They won't be able to work here anymore. So how are you going to fill all of your company? How are you going to fill all of your industry? Because we really didn't have a system over 100 years ago that filled all these positions. So it just so happened several things happened kind of in a funny order. About 20 years after that conversation took place, we had the Great Depression. And prior to the Great Depression, it was something like 89 or 85. I've read a bunch of different things about, let's just call it close to 90% of America was self-employed. Self-employed. They did not work for a company. They did not work for an institution. They worked for themselves in a trade, in agriculture, in something else. After the Great Depression, 5 years later, 95% of people worked for a company, for a system. And basically here was the fail. They said, look at what happened to everybody. Look at what happened to everybody who was self-employed. If you would just go to school, our school, if you would just go to school and you would just get good grades and you would just study hard, you could get a good job with us and we'll provide you benefits and we'll provide you Social Security and savings. They literally sold it to everybody they had just bankrupted. And if you were a self-employed person, everybody you knew basically had lost everything, and these leaders came in and said, hey, this is what you should do, you would basically give up your freedom too, and you'd sign up for that program. And basically what's been happening is we've been selling that over and over and over and over again. You know, I asked my mom, I was like, where did you get that whole get good grades and go to school? She's like, well, I got it from, my mom. And I asked my grandma, because she was still alive at the time, I was like, where did you guys hear this from? She said, well, we got it from our parents. And it was really funny because what I learned is her parents were self-employed. This was my grandmother's parents, so this would have been my great-great-grandma and my great-great-grandfather. They were self-employed. And they had a business that actually fell apart and crashed at the Great Depression. And afterwards, both of them went to work for a company and then told their kids, don't do what we did, do what we're doing now. Anything sound familiar? So they started basically working for companies, and what I kind of saw, like, it was almost like the timeline flashed in front of me. I was like, so what they did is they set up people to kind of be these pawns. Now, if you go back far enough, the school system, which was really interesting to learn this because there was something called the common school and the normal school. One of the common school basically taught, or I'm sorry, is it the common school? The common school taught the teachers who taught at the normal school. And it was literally called common and normal. And I learned more of the history because Bess's brother actually works at one of the college institutions that taught this. He's like, oh yeah, that's true. That actually was taught at our college inside of Illinois. I said, really interesting. Now, prior to all that, here's what's interesting about the school system. Who ran the school system? And it's funny because some people get this right away and some people don't know. Who ran most school systems prior to the government taking over? And obviously people can't raise their hand or chime in here, but it was actually the churches. Almost every institution in the world was ran by the church. So it kind of went from church into, and I'm not saying that was the right way either, I'm just saying that's where education was taught. And the funny thing is that the same thing happened to medicine. Turn of the century. The same guys, which is really interesting, the same guys that corrected the monetary system, also were told, hey, your industries have a shelf life and you need to go into something different. So it's really interesting. The same guys that created the banking system in America also created and funded the American Medical Society. It's wild, guys, when you start really reading, not the history that we were taught in schools by the people who wanted us to go get a job, but when you read real history of the stuff that they left out. That was the most interesting. I was like, hey, where was this on? They're like, they didn't want you to know that. I mean, when you really read some of this, you're like, oh, they didn't want you to know this stuff. There's all that kind of stuff coming out now on YouTube and stuff, and there's a really good, there's a great video that, with Bess's permission, I'm actually going to put on the MLM Millionaire Club. It's called The Creature from Jekyll Island. And it's really interesting because it's very the only thing it teaches is it's actually a book that was written, and it's a book about the creation of the Federal Reserve System. And what's interesting about the Federal Reserve System is it's not federal, it's not a reserve, and they don't actually have any money. Which is pretty interesting. It's a private institution that was put into place on December 24th at 11 p.m. at night, organized by a small group of people who had a lot of money to influence senators and Congress to sign on it think about that, at almost midnight Christmas Eve, knowing that only the exact amount of people to be able to sign it into law were actually going to be around. So basically what I'm saying is that they were bought and paid, just like it always happens, and they got them there. They signed it into law, and now the Federal Reserve System here's basically what it's allowed to do. It is the controlling monetary system of every single banking institution in the United States. They control everything, every dollar that comes through, every cent that's paid, which is really interesting when you start learning about. And the reason why this is personal development on a whole new level is it's going to do one thing. It's either going to it's going to basically turn you on to own your own thing, or it's going to be, the other side is you're going to hate it so much, you'll work so hard to get out of the system that they built. But one of those two things usually happens when you really learn how it all works. Fractionalization of banking. This is really interesting. Banks have no money. This is totally wild. Banks actually have no money. And here's how a bank gets money. A bank creates money by basically creating debt. Now, this totally blew me away, and I was in the mortgage business for years, and when I started teaching this to my other mortgage friends, they were like, that actually makes sense. So, for instance, I want a mortgage, so I walk into ABC Bank, and I've got the paperwork and all the stuff done, and they have the parameters of how they're supposed to loan. So here's what the bank does. The bank actually calls the Federal Reserve and says, okay, I have a promissory note. That's why it's called promise, a promise to pay. Promissory note. I have a note that says I'm able to collect, the bank says, and let's just call it a $100,000 house. I have a note that says I'm allowed to collect a $100,000 house plus the interest. So if you look at the interest over 30 years on the $100,000 house at 8%, it's something like $230,000 in interest. So the bank then goes to the Federal Reserve and says, okay, I want my fractionalized piece of this $100,000. So here's what the Federal Reserve basically says. They go to the central bank, and they actually give the bank a loan for 9 times on average. This is just an average, 9 times the amount of money that the note is for. The note is for $100,000, so that means the bank gets $900,000 in collateral money to loan out. Now they have to keep FDIC, Federal Insurance Reserve. They have to keep $100,000 of it in the bank at all times that they then, make money off of. But the other $800,000, this is crazy. They're able to give $100,000 of it for the mortgage, pay off the other guy, and then the other $700,000. Now what they're able to do is the bank is actually able to offer low interest loans, credit cards, blah 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 with the rest of that money, and it starts all over again. So what creates money is debt. It's the most messed up system you could ever learn about. And most of us are basically functioning inside that system without actually even knowing how it works. They don't teach it to you, and they don't teach it to you because once you realize how it works, you have the ability to get out. Now, that is a kind of a scientific PhD level explanation of what's really actually going on behind the scenes. And like I said, at first, you're going to be like, no way, he's got to be lying. That can't be true. There's no way. It's too coincidental. It's too this. It's too that. I don't believe. I grew up in a different system. I see it differently. I like it differently. But I would challenge you, go research it. Go Google the common school. Go Google how the school system was set up, the common school and the normal school. Go Google the Federal Reserve and how it was created, and look up the book, The Creature from Jekyll Island, and read how it was created. Go look up the founding people behind the American Medical Society and how they bought their way in and changed everything about healing and health. Because a lot of us are in healing and health companies, so it'll make a lot of sense to you, and it'll be really good ammunition and information to understand while we're out there building our businesses. There was a small group of people who took over how we see everything, and they own every piece of the puzzle. The banking system, the monetary system, the education system, the health system, the insurance system, everything. Everything's owned. Everything makes them money. And their influence is pretty strong because they have most of us running around and we have no idea what we're really doing. Most of us are just trying to survive. I'm just trying to get by. I'm just trying to do this. Wow, there are a few people. George Carlin pointed them out very clearly. There are a few people who figured it out, and they're the ones who are really making money, and everybody else is struggling. That's another video you can watch, but it comes with a warning. His language is out there. For those of you who know him, you know exactly what I mean. If you don't know that, that's probably not one to write down and research. So where does that come to us? If anyone has done it, then you can do it. If anyone's done it, you can do it. Meaning, if somebody's physically done this, there is no special magic inside of network marketing. That was the one thing one of my mentors had us write down every time. He said, I want to tell you something. There is no magic inside of network marketing. There's no magic. You're looking for magic. You're looking for some specific one thing. You're looking for the easiest. You're looking for the fastest. You're looking for the cheapest way to do this. It's really about hard work. It's really about understanding what's best and what you're trying to accomplish. There's focus involved, and there's timing involved. But here's what I found. I used to complain that I was 17 and there was nobody successful who was 17, and then I met 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds and 19-year-olds and 20-year-olds who are successful. I've also met 21-year-olds who have been a millionaire. I've met 30-year-olds who have been a millionaire, 40-year-olds who have been a millionaire. I've even met 50 and 60 and even somebody 70 years old who learned about the business. They learned about the business when they were 70, and by the time they were 76, I think they were a millionaire or multimillionaire inside the industry. So a lot of us will kind of say, well, it's got to be my age. I've missed it. I'm too young. I'm too old. I'm too middle-aged. I'm too whatever age. A lot of us will blame our age, and that's the reason in our head why we can't make it. And what I can say is if anybody's already done it at your age, you have no excuse. It can be done. You could do it. You just have to kind of do the things that they did. Now, the next thing is, and I hear this a lot because I have friends from all over the place. And by the way, for those of you, some of you don't know this, I'm Mexican. A lot of people don't know that. My dad's side is Mexican. Like, we came from Mexico. So a lot of times people say, yeah, but Jeff doesn't understand, and I've had really interesting conversations because my skin is so light complected. Even in Spanish, they're like, he's not Mexican, and I even understand what they're talking about because I understand a little bit of Spanish, and my ex is Brazilian, so I also understand a lot of Portuguese. So even when they're talking in either one of those languages, or Italian or French, I can kind of make it out and understand what they're really talking about. So it's funny because I've actually been made fun of in like 5 languages, and I understood it each time what they were talking about. So, when it comes to race, people are like, well, I can't because it's harder for somebody of my race or my background to make it. And I'm like, now I love the internet, I really do, because now we can actually pull up people from every background, in every race, that look all different. Some people are like, well, I can't do it because I'm not tall enough. I can't do it because I'm not strong enough. I can't do it because I have long hair. I have no hair. I can't do it because I'm blonde. I can't do it because I have curls. I can't do it. I mean, people are making up all these reasons why they can't do it. And the cool thing now is you can just pull somebody up from that background, right? Or from that race, from that age, and then from the background. People are like, well, you don't understand my background. You don't understand where I grew up. And now we're able to find people who have, overcome racism, who have overcome drugs, who have overcome abuse, who have overcome, I have friends in the industry that have overcome, jail situation. Both of their parents were arrested and, and killed because of drug scenarios, and it was just horrible, horrible stuff. And they're massively successful in the industry. And I'm not talking about, just making $50,000 a year. I'm talking about $100,000, $200,000, $500,000, millions of dollars. I have a couple of friends that are on the top 200 earner chart that their struggles are unbelievable. A lot of people say, well, I can't make it because you don't understand my parents. You don't understand my family, and how they beat me up and drag me down. And what I can tell you is I've seen people make it that have usually worse families and worse scenarios than you do, but they made a decision not to let that stop them, and they had to get away from that family. I've known people say, well, you don't understand because of my education, I only have a high school education. I never went to college. I never met any of these things. I never learned any of these things. And I love what Magic Johnson said at Network Marketing Pro. He's like, there's two types of educations. He's like, I don't have a formal education. Here's a guy who's, he's closing in on $1 billion. $1 billion. He's like, I don't have an education. He's like, I went and played basketball. He goes, I have a street education. I see what's going on, and I have an awareness education. He's like, I have an awareness education in business. I look at what's actually happening. Amazing self-esteem, that helps. A lot of people say, well, Jeff, you don't understand. I don't have that income. I only make $10, $15, $20 an hour, and I know people who have gone from $7 an hour to $1 million. I know people who have gone from $10 an hour to $100,000 a year in the industry. So you can't really use that either, because there are people who have done that. And then some people will say, well, I just don't come from that profession. All the people that I know have come from real estate and this and the other thing. Well, what about my friend who was a drug dealer? He didn't really have a good profession. I have another friend that was a truck driver. He was a truck driver, and he went from $0 to $1 million inside the industry. Now made over $80 million in total income. He was a truck driver. I know mechanics. I know parts managers. And there are some high-end doctors, pharmaceutical sales reps. Yes, those people have made it too. So you can have an education or no education. And this is kind of the horrible thing to say. I know people dumber. I know people uglier. And I know people who have more struggles than you do. And they still made it. And we're talking about to full-time incomes, over $10,000 a month. But here's what I've learned. You really want to have three things. Number one, you want to have a high-paying skill. You want to have a high-paying skill, something that earns $50 to $100 an hour. You want to have a high-paid skill. That's your job. That's your profession. That's what pays the bills. That's what puts food on the table. Find a high-paying skill. If you don't have this, it helps. I'm not saying you can't do it without it, but it helps. The second thing you want to find is a scalable business. A scalable business is something you can basically copy over and over and over again. Network marketing is the ultimate scalable business. And what it does is a scalable business should be able to create more and more and more cash, more and more profit without putting an enormous amount of money back in. It doesn't take $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 investment up front to get it up and going. Most of us, let's face it, most of us got into our companies for under $1,000. Most of us have an auto ship or product that we buy that's under $200 or $300. Guys, I know that sounds like a lot. People are like, oh my gosh, you spend almost $300 a month. Compared to a traditional business, are you kidding me? I know I was just talking to this guy. I was like, what the heck was the telephone bill for your business in the heyday? Because we were talking about long distance. He's like, I don't know, it was like $60,000 to $80,000. I was like, $60,000 to $80,000 a year? He's like, no, a month. That was their phone bill. Now, obviously, we don't have that now, but that was a mortgage company that was ran back in the day here in Indianapolis, and they had 800 employees, but that was just their phone bill. People are like, oh my God, how can you possibly afford $200? Oh my gosh, $200 is just so much money. I can't believe it. It's a joke. I know, like my business cards, my real estate business cards for 1,000 business cards was more than your auto ship. And there's 1.5 million realtors in the market, just to let you know. There's 1.2 million insurance people, and there's like 850,000 financial services experts. So those are three professions to add up to about almost 3 million. That's like 1% of the population. 1% of the population, their business cards cost more than your auto ship. And I know that for a fact because we all get them from the same place. So a scalable business where you can create cash flow. What are you going to do with that cash flow? The third thing you want to do is find a high ROI investment. ROI means return on investment. High ROI of 10% or more is what has been recommended. So what you do is you live off of, this is cool, you live off of number one, which is your high paid income or high paid skill. That's what you live off of. You just pay the bills. And the funny thing is people are like, man, I can't get ahead of this job. it was never meant to get you ahead. It was never meant. Just like minimum wage was a starting, not a finish line. It was just somewhere to start. You were supposed to start there and then develop a skill and then move out of there. It's the reason why the fourth grade desks are so small. You're not supposed to stay. You're supposed to move on. You're supposed to graduate. You're supposed to grow and no longer fit there. No longer fit the material, no longer fit the desk, no longer fit the environment. You're supposed to move on and get better. So a high ROI, 10% or more, there's a bunch of things in the industry, and what you're trying to do there is you're trying to learn the rule of 7-2. The rule of 7-2, or some people call it the rule of 72, but it's the rule of 7-2, which means at 10% interest, if you have 10% compounding interest on a investment, in 7 years, that money will double. So for instance, if we were able to put 100, watch this, is cool. If you're able to put, and I actually wrote this down before we started, so this is how I'm going to end, and then I'm going to turn this over to Beth. For instance, if we were able to, imagine creating this for your family. This would be so cool. Imagine if this year we were able to create, you as a family, like us together, learning what we're going to do in 2019. I'm going to be off by a year, so I'm going to change this in 19, 6, 3, 40, 7, 4. Okay. So let's say we put away $100,000 next year. $100,000 next year in an investment that earns, on average, 10%. Now, I'm not going to go into what to do. I'm not a financial advisor. I have no idea how all that works. I just know there are things that make 10% about, and statistically they're there. We can have a conversation one-on-one if you want to know some of the books to read on that. But let's say we're able to put away $100,000. The rule of 72 says this: if it does 10% compounding interest in 7 years, so 2019 to 2026, $100,000 will turn into $200,000. Watch this, without you ever putting another dollar into that investment. It just compounds. It doubles every 7 years. Now, from 2026 to 2033, it would double again if it averaged 10%, which I've found some things that are really damn close. 9.82 statistically over 75 years. It goes to 400,000. Now this is crazy. 2033 to 2048 or 2040. The 40 or 40. Oh, that's 33. 2033 to 2040, which is exactly 7 years. You'd have 800,000. 47. You'd have 1.6 million. Now, some of us are going to be gone, and people are like, well, I'm already going to be gone. But imagine leaving this where, watch this, you leave the interest to your family, but they're never allowed to take out the original. They're never allowed to take out the original principal. I didn't know that there are families whose wealth is like this, where the investment is sitting making interest, and the way that the trust is written is only the interest you're able to actually access. The principal is never able to access. You talk about some generational wealth. Watch this. 2054, 3.2 million. Then it goes to 6.4. Then it goes to, I'm just going to average it, 12. Then it goes to 24. Then it goes to 48, almost $50 million. So if you do the math on this, it's something like 75 years, and 75 years total, because it's 7 times 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I'm sorry, it's a total of 9. 9 times 7, anyone? Is 64 years. In 64 years, if it worked perfectly at 10% interest, you would basically go from $100,000 to $48 million. $48 million. Your family would be set. Your family line would be set forever. There would be a picture of you above the mantle 100 years from now, and people would be like, who in the world is that person? They're like, that is the person, and the reason we're sitting in this house, you're going to that school, they're having everything. And some of you are like, well, I don't want to do that. Then give the money away. Give the money away to an organization. Give the money away to, clean the ocean. Give the money away to clean the air. Give the money away to educate people who don't have an education. Give the money away to, the homeless. Give the money away to shelters. I mean, there's enough people. Like, if all of us got together, made this kind of money, and gave it all away, we still wouldn't be able to help everybody. So go help somebody else. You'll feel better. and create a better world. So with that, I'm going to turn this over to Bess. I apologize, I went a little over, and I know we started kind of about 15 minutes, so we have about another 15 minutes. So back to you, Bess.
Okay, thanks, Jeff, for giving us the keys of how to escape the matrix. That's essentially what we are in, and yeah, I'll love to see that video about the Federal Reserve, and yeah, to learn more about all this. So network marketing is a way to get out of that, and then what Jeff said with investing, because we are either growing in this economy, going to either become worker bees or find a way to get out of it. And so network marketing is this. So thanks for that reason to be in network marketing, for people to value this profession and how to keep your vision of where this can take you and your family, and the reason to do your presentations every day. If we need a why, this is a great why, is looking at the truth of what's really going on and how to get free of that. It's the only way that I know. So I have material here that is about 20 minutes worth, and I'm going to do my best to put it down into about 10 minutes. What I'd like to present tonight goes along with the personal development. Being a body-mind therapist for 30 years now, I help people to get past mental blocks to success. So I figured that fits under this one. I have distilled down the top 10 mental blocks to success from my work with clients and students and myself over 30 years, being a business coach as well. So I'm going to read these, the top 10 mental blocks to success. I will put a link in for them, but I'm going to describe each of these. Make a little note as we go by and see if any of these affect you. I've only met one lady ever that says she didn't have these. She's worked out all of these already. She's an amazing lady. But most of us are still working out some aspects of some of these. So maybe make a note if you find one or more that could be your weak link in your chain, because the chain is only as strong as its weakest link. So why not look at ourselves and be honest with ourselves and know that there is a way to strengthen that weak link. So I'm going to go through these. Number one, these are beliefs that we hold. They're the mental blocks, the mindset blocks, the mindset. So number one, we believe that success is not possible, or that network marketing is not possible. It's a pipe dream. Why bother? So don't even try. Can't be for me. So this comes from people who do not believe in network marketing, or they don't believe in themselves, that it can't be possible. If they don't believe in network marketing, a way to solve that is to, and that can come from listening to the naysayers, the people that have had bad experiences and don't want to take self-responsibility, that it probably was they didn't get the right training, or they didn't try, or they believed it was a lottery ticket and that didn't pan out, so now they're bad-mouthing network marketing. So you can hear this a lot about network marketers, network marketing, and the solution to that is when you're prospecting. By the way, these mental blocks can be found in you, your prospects, or your team. So this applies to all. So it's good to know this. If you're talking to your prospects, you don't have to mention network marketing. And Jeff's script, you can just bypass that and just talk about this business. When people ask me to say, well, what kind of business is it? I like to say that you sell a product or service and you train other people to do the same thing. That's acceptable. That's respectable, right? So you don't even have to mention network marketing. But if you doubt network marketing, or you run across a prospect who does, you can show them the success that is in this business, maybe within your own company. There's so many people making all the time, more and more people making millions, becoming millionaires in network marketing. So how could they believe that that's not possible? I wrote an article called The Famous Supporters of MLM. You can find it's a blog within the MLM Millionaire Club. So you could send a prospect that article. Now, if it's yourself, it's not possible for me. It's possible for other people, but there's something in me just is flawed. I can't make it. Those are special people. I don't have that special whatever, that something or whatever to make it. They must be magical somehow, and I'm just not. I'm just an ordinary person. Or even worse than that, I don't have any self-esteem to know that it could be possible for me. I recommend, as a solution to this, to run a mind movie, a minute in the morning and a minute in the evening, of you being successful. It will begin to change your mindset and begin to see yourself as being successful. Another trick is to write 15 times a day whatever your goal is. I am an MLM millionaire, or I can achieve whatever I put my mind to. My mom always told me that, and I believed it. So you write that 15 times a day. It does something with your subconscious mind and changes that. Another one is to focus on your strengths, not your weaknesses. And if you don't know what those are, ask other people what those are, because you may not be aware of the gifts and the strengths and talents that you have. If you want some help beyond these simple ideas, just private message me, because this is exactly what I help people do to make breakthroughs like Tony Robbins does and get past the mental blocks. I happen to be doing a mental clearing section of the year right now. It's very, very powerful, leading people through how to clear out their mental blocks to success and have a breakthrough and really rewrite the programs that usually you got when you're a kid. So watching your role models, hearing people say things like, money's the root of all evil, rich people are greedy, and this type of thing. These are negative money mindsets that can be rewritten, but you probably got those from childhood role models, people that they're just part of you without you even knowing it. So that's what I help people to flush up, make it visible, and help them to change that. Okay, number 2 mental block. We think it's too hard. I don't want to work that hard or wait that long, so we don't even try. I'll just turn on the TV. That's easier tonight than thinking of climbing this mountain of success. Well, success, here's how I help that. Success is hard, but being broke is hard. Choose your hard. Which you're going to struggle either way. Why not? Which one do you want? Which type of struggle and hard do you wish to have, a successful one or a broke one? Now, 10 years will go by, and will you be in the same place you are now, and will that be okay with you? However, in network marketing, you must be willing to delay gratification. I think that's a measure of maturity. That's how they measure the maturity of a child. And so what kind of maturity do you have? Realize that in network marketing, you don't get paid like per hour for a job, which pays you the same all the time. Network marketing is at first you put in a lot of work for a little money, then you start getting paid for it, then you get paid a lot of money for the work you put in. It's not like a job at all. A job, you just get paid that same, $10, $15 an hour or whatever. But in network marketing, first you got to put in the work first before you get paid, then you really start getting paid. So it's different than a job, thank goodness. But if you have such short vision that you can only see the first few weeks or years, and you're complaining because you're not getting paid what a job pays you, you're putting in work and time that you're not getting paid for. If you're complaining about that, get your long range vision. Get your big girl panties on, as somebody called it, and look a little down the road. I have a client who said, at this point in our network marketing business, she goes, it's ridiculous how much we get paid for how little we do. And that comes down the road. But first, she and her husband had to put that time in the beginning to get to that point. So what you have to do in the beginning, anybody who has their own business has to do this stuff. What you have to do is keep your vision and get support or help or a coach or mentor to help you to keep that vision, because it will get tested. Number 3, mental block. We can't figure out how to do it or where to start. Well, guess what? The favor script and method that Jeff just mentioned, that takes care of all that, because it's on-the-job training. You use that, you will get better at it, and you will discover the art of it as you use it. But right there, if you know people out there, network marketer friends, who are overwhelmed because there's so much out there, so much different advice, and they're overwhelmed and they really don't know where to start or which one to pick, then they might like to know about this class, and they might thank you for that, so that they can get the best, simplest, easiest, fastest. Number 4, mental block. We're not receptive to help. We don't trust advice, and we're not coachable. Well, you may find this on your team. You're here, so I know that you're coachable, right? But you may find this on your team. Someone is not. You have to kind of wait for them to then come to you and say, okay, I've tried. They want to do their own thing. You say, okay, this is how you do it. Here's the favor script. You know, this is what I'm learning to do in this class. This is what I would like you guys to do. Maybe, oh, I want to do it a different way, or I want to try the ClickFunnels or whatever. You might have to wait until they feel humbled and they come back to you until they're ready and coachable. However, you know that when you learn from those who've done what you want to do, that's the quickest way. We are here to shortcut your learning curve so it doesn't have to take 20 years. There are people, Holton Buggs, multimillionaire, said it took him 16 years to become an overnight success. We want that. We want success for you guys a lot quicker. So that's why we put this class out in these methods. Number 5, mental block. We're not ready for the change, for change and what it would bring. This is a resistance maybe to learning new things, trying a new way. Learning to be a leader, for example, takes a lot of personal growth and development. It takes being willing to look at yourself and be humble enough again to learn and grow. That is why we created the MLM Leadership University, to help you become a leader, to bring in that residual income that is how you will get out of the matrix. But you have to be willing to change yourself. And I think it was Jim Rohn that said, you know, aim for $1 million, but not for the money, for the person you will become in the process. So what other changes could success bring in your life? Some people might worry about getting burned out, and that's why I help people with stress management. And just contemplate, well, am I really scared of success? Am I scared of what that would bring in my life? And just journal a little bit, contemplate about that, take a walk and think about that. Am I scared of success? Am I scared of what it might bring? What are my beliefs about it? Number 6, I don't deserve a better life. This is all that I deserve. And Jeff mentions, you know, your background, your race, your education. You might pull up any excuses, well, I can't do it because of this or that. But like he said, there are people who've done it. One network marketer I know, I said, what's the greatest thing the greatest challenge your people on your team face? And she said they're shifting their paradigm to making more than just $4,000 a month, because maybe that's what they made in their job, and or they hit that ceiling. I think that's all they can do. So it's a paradigm shift. Again, if anyone has this insight, I don't deserve it, I don't deserve success, then see me, because I help people have breakthroughs about that. Number 7, this is an interesting one. We feel guilty if we outdo our parents or our friends because we don't want to lose their love. We think, well, we don't want to show them up or something like that. And actually, parents might really want success for you. So this might be your own fear and your own guilt. I remember when Eric Worre gave his mom a brand new car. He let her out, gave her the keys, and she walks out, and there's this big old red bow on the car, you know, and she was like ecstatic, you know. So I don't think she minds that he is outdoing her, or I think his father minds that either. They fly him all over the world and have great vacations, and they're having a lot of fun with their family, creating memories. Number 8. But just write this down. You know, write any of these things down if you have a block or problem about that, and I can surely help you with that. Number 8, we're scared to see the truth about ourselves. This is where ego can prevent us from growing because we might take criticism personally. So what we have to do is we want to have the success, and we have to want the person you will become greater than you want your ego, and that gives you the courage to step up. Number 9, we believe there's not enough time. So this is where time management comes in. Encourage you to set priorities and do that first. Remember the big rock story, that if you put the sand in first and small rocks, medium rocks, and big rocks, they won't all fit in your day. But if you put the big rocks first, do the priorities, and let the other ones flow and fit around that, that is the way to manage your day. Set priorities. And everything that list out what you have to do. It's going to fall into 3 categories. You do it, you delegate it, or you let go of it. And think which one it really needs to be. So delegate as much as you can, outsource as much as you can. Number 10, last one. We don't believe I have enough money. In other words, for the starter kit, right? So when you'll run into prospects that say this, So I know Brian Carruthers said when he talked to somebody, he said, I can't afford to start this business. He said, you can't afford to make money? Because he knew that starter kit would come back if they followed what he told them to do. And as Jeff said, network marketing has the highest return on investment of any business in the whole world, and usually it takes $60,000 to start the average business. So people can find it. Your prospects can find it. I know people, my students and clients, who have washed cars to get the starter money. People who have sold things around their home, sell something out of your garage to get the starter money. You can earn the money. You can find a way. I have a client right now who said, oh, I don't have the money for your coaching. But she goes, wait a minute, I know where I can get $500 a week. There's a job that somebody offered me cleaning houses, and I can do that and get the money for coaching. There have been people who sold toys, kids in homeless shelters sold toys so their mom could get the starter kit. You can always find it if they value it. So that's my 10 top mental blocks to success, and I hope this did not keep you all too long. What we'll do now is turn off the recording and open it up now for questions that you may have. We could start out with seeing who has a takeaway that you got something from tonight. I can actually see who's on, Jeff, so I